What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another exclusive interview with PW Mania. My name is Scott Mitchell, and joining me today is one of the most talented over guys around today, one of my personal favorites, Joe Hendry. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you, Scott. I like the intro. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And it's really cool because I want to start with the big news that came out. Your song that's now top on top up a lot of charts. It's number four
Hmm.
in the UK singles download. What does that
Yep.
mean to you?
So yeah, I still can't get my head around it, to be honest. Like the fact it was number one on iTunes for the UK, Malta, two in Ireland, six in the US, and it was four overall for downloads, six overall for sales. But in the UK Big Top 40, which is the biggest official chart, number four. And we did actually, all jokes aside, we did finish above Taylor Swift, which the week after she brought an album out is insanity.
That's the
Absolute insanity. And to me, it shows the power of the professional wrestling fan base. So I'm sitting here very pleased and humbled by the support of the professional wrestling fan base. It's unbelievable.
I love so usually I hate Twitter and I don't like it. Twitter has become a very negative place, sadly, but
It has.
I really do love seeing like it doesn't matter who you're a fan of, WWE, AEW, TNA, any of them, because there's like I know there's a lot of weird tribalism stuff going on. But anyway, I love just seeing everybody kind of come together, like sharing the memes,
Yeah.
sharing it's just like it's so much fun.
Have you seen just from what you described, have you seen that one meme where it's like the knights around the table and it's like all the different organizations? Like is that what you're referring to? I saw that one. It was so funny. Yeah, for the listeners, it was basically there was a bunch of knights around the table, all of the different professional wrestling organization on them, and it was like they're uniting to support Joe Hendry, which was very cool. There's been some very funny memes.
Definitely. I one of my personal favorites that I know you retweeted, but I don't know who made it. And I forgot who made it, but it's on my Twitter. It was like one of the funniest things I've seen was the SpongeBob episode where the
Yeah,
Squidward's and the and that one just blew up. And for some reason, that one just like blew up. And it was a fun. I was laughing at that for like 2 hours after. It was
yeah.
just terrific. But
It's so
yeah.
sorry, carry on.
I know you're good.
I was just going to say it's so mad how this has evolved from, just having a bit of fun with some memes to actually breaking into the charts. It's just so
Yeah.
fun when something like that happens. But sorry, carry on. You were going to say something.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say, so like when I first became a fan of you, I think your first entrance that I really saw was the Hendry Bowl,
Yeah.
based off the Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus. But when did you really decide you wanted to combine music and fun parody songs with wrestling?
So it started when I went to see ICW live, and it was just like ECW, and it was extreme. And I thought, I've always found that to be successful when you're going into a new territory in any endeavor in life, you have to see what the norm is and run in the opposite direction. So everybody else was being extreme, and I was like, well, what is the opposite of extreme? And I thought it would be, this sort of pop star character, and that's kind of how it started in ICW. And then it moved into parodies when I just really got into the song In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. And I was like, man, that'd be a great entrance. And I just thought, oh, I could feel Joe Hendry in the air tonight. And then it started there, and then it moved on to Hendry Ball. And the Hendry Ball one was a funny one, actually, because um, the size of the venue meant that you couldn't get the inflatable ball backstage after doors had opened. So the ball couldn't be inflated backstage. It had to be inflated on the ramp and then brought up the ramp, and it had to sit in Gorilla until it was time for the match. So that meant once it was inflated, it couldn't be reinflated. So it was losing air. And so I put this Hendry ball thing on, and if you watch it, it's quite deflated. And when I practiced it one last time before doors open, I smashed my head off the ground because it wasn't blown up enough. But thankfully, on the when we actually did it live, I did the roll and I landed on the ramp. And it was one of those things. I very nearly didn't do the roll. I was actually just going to walk out, but I remember a colleague was like, "You have to do the roll." Even if they're, and they were basically saying, even if you roll down to the bottom of the ramp and completely fail, it's still going to be funny. So I was like, all right. And that was when me committing 100% to these entrances, win, lose, or draw, that it just requires full commitment.
Absolutely. And I had to ask, do you have I mean, it could be a favorite one. I mean, it could be a current one or it could be an older one, but did you have a favorite entrance of yours?
It kind of changes from time to time. Um, I like a lot of them for different reasons. The one that's kind of my personal favorite at the moment is, I don't know if you've seen the one where I was in a town called Grimsby that gets made fun of a lot. And I'm just going to the ring, just ruthlessly making fun of the town that I'm in. And at the start, they're booing, but then they start laughing and clapping along because everything I'm saying is true. So that was a favorite of mine that I can remember. The one that kind of changed my career most recently was the Scotty 2 Hotty one, because that was the night that I made the decision that no matter, yeah, I was at North Wrestling. I don't know exactly how many people were there, but say 300 people in the room. And I just made the decision that I just saw the reaction to that entrance. And I was like, this is so much fun. And I just said, if it never gets bigger than this, I'll still give it 100%. And the moment I made that commitment, that's when it started to get bigger. The next day is when um, we started moving towards a deal at Impact. It's so crazy, which is now TNA. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy
and
how life works out.
it's been so much fun watching you from, ICW and seeing those parodies to seeing everything you've been doing. Your recent roast of First Class was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
and we'll get to that a little bit later. But I did want to talk a little bit about, your first time in TNA, or I guess it was Impact at the time. You
hmm
were there back in 2018 and you worked with Eli Drake, or now LA Knight for anyone who might
hmm
not know. But what was it like to just work with him and work for Impact Wrestling the first time around?
So the thing is, what I think people didn't know is that I didn't have a visa. So I could not work in the United States. I could only do shows in Canada and Mexico. So people are like, oh, it was a failed run or whatever. It's like, I think I was there like 3 or 4 times because they were the only shows that were in Canada and Mexico. So I literally couldn't continue my run because I didn't have the visa to do so. Me and LA Knight worked together, I think 3 times and had a small program. And I think I think we had the potential to do something special with that. I think that he is phenomenally talented, and I think that he doesn't always get to verbally spar with someone who can give it back. And I don't think he was used to that. And when someone just gets under your skin that little bit and blurs the lines, it brings out the absolute best in you. So
Definitely.
you know how it is. It's as you saw Jordan Grace did the Royal Rumble, you know, nothing is off the table now. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of money to be made in me versus LA Knight. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think the fans would want to see that too.
That would be a ton of fun because I remember I've been a fan of TNA, and I'll say TNA because like since the early days of TNA, where it was like Beer Money, Motor City Machine Guns, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. But I just remember watching around that time period, and I really, really enjoyed your feud with LA Knight because then Grado got
hmm
involved a little bit, and it just like became something like it just became fun. It just became like a lot of fun to watch, and it was just like
Yeah.
it doesn't always need to be kind of like serious, like hatred, I guess, towards someone to like be a fun rivalry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, what
hmm
was it like incorporating Grado into that and just teaming up with him as well?
Oh, it's so much fun. Like, so me and Grado teamed together in Coventry on the UK tour as well. And I came out wearing his singlet to his entrance music, and he went out wearing my shorts to my entrance. So we basically dressed up as each other, which was a lot of fun. Grado is like probably the most naturally funny person I've ever met in my entire life. Like everybody loves Grado. You just have the best time. Well, I'm smiling thinking about it. Like he's just so much fun to be around. So I would welcome any opportunity for him to come back to TNA.
Definitely. And that would be he's a TNA legend in his own right. Like the
Yeah,
guy's done
yeah,
the guys had I almost cursed there. The guys had a boatload of fun matches though. I just every time like you guys just compliment each other very well, truthfully, you know.
yeah,
Both great
yeah,
wrestlers, both funny to watch, and both like you enjoy it. Like it's just like, you know, it's just
yeah.
something to be said about that, you know.
We did have fun. We did have fun.
Definitely. So, you know, you made your return to TNA and you signed with TNA in September of 2022. I want to say around that time period, right
Mhm.
before Bound for Glory. But what was it like making a return and officially signing with the company?
So I remember speaking with a member of management about when I came back, and when I reappeared, it was Bound for Glory. So I was, I believe, the second entrant in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. And I remember saying to management, look, management said, I think people are going to be pretty excited that you're here. And I was like, look, I said, I was at WrestleCon earlier this week. Nobody recognized me. I was like, I appreciate that you think that, but I think we're going to be starting from scratch here. And management went, I don't know. And then when I walked out, there were signs like on the ramp. There were a lot of signs for me that evening. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh, well, I don't know what happened in the 3 months since I was last here, but damn. And so I was blown away to make my debut and for it to go well. And then I was just talking about this evening as well, to then win the Digital Media Championship on my second weekend there. It was just madness.
Definitely. And you know, you got to work with Brian Myers and when you did win that championship. What was it like to work
Mhm.
with somebody who's as talented as he is and doesn't always get the spotlight because where he came from, you know, he wasn't maybe booked like how he should have been. But you know, what's it like just work with him and see how he's been?
So I've always said this, like when you look at like what I'm doing right now and the success that I'm having, it takes an army of people to get you there. It takes an army of people to help you develop in the areas that you need to develop. And I really don't want to leave anybody out, but the guys I've worked with the most since I've been back is, Brian Myers, Moose, Eddie Edwards. Like it's the system, the faction. And those guys have been instrumental in my development as a professional wrestler. Particularly Brian Myers. I've probably wrestled Brian Myers more than anybody else in the company. And yeah, the guy's just world class. That's what the system are. They're world class. They're on top right now. And don't get me wrong, I'm shooting for that top spot, but they are absolutely world class. And even by just being in the ring with them, you can't help but get better.
Definitely. And what did it mean to you to win that digital media championship?
Genuinely, I felt like my life was a simulation when I won it. I couldn't quite believe it. From where I was, maybe 6 months earlier, where I had to make the difficult decision. I didn't have a lot of money at the time. Am I going to sink all the money that I've saved up and credit cards to pay for my own visa to take the chance to go over and try and get a deal with TNA Wrestling? That was the biggest gamble financially and in terms of energy that I can recall taking, and it just paid off in spades. But I look back to that time and having to make that decision and just being, it was tough, but there was never a question in my mind that that was the way to go. I had friends tell me, "You're mad, you're crazy, don't do that." Like you shouldn't take that chance. I think you're mad, but it obviously paid off. You have to. I'm glad that I showed enough belief in myself to double down and do it. You know.
Absolutely. And it's been a ton of fun watching you again and seeing you this time around, especially too, because you know, I feel like there's been more you've been able to do and just there's more time, so it's
Yeah.
more and that includes, you know, your story or rivalry with First Class right now with Rich Swan,
hmm
Top Dollar. What's it like going up against those guys and working with them?
Well, just to follow on from what you were saying, like, being able to do more and things like that, I've now realized with experience that before you get creative freedom with what you're doing, you have to build equity with the fans, build equity with management. And I've learned recently that it's about consistency. When they book a Joe Hendry, they want to know exactly what they're going to get. So I've had to display consistency when it comes to entertainment over a long period of time. And I think that's why I was ready to have the feud that we've just had with AJ Francis and Rich Swann. I feel like I really kicked things up a gear. It was not easy, just coming up with all those videos, and it was a lot of work, a lot of, 3 a.m. filming and editing and things like that. It is a grind, my friend, but it was worth it. Excuse me, it was worth every second. And Rich is just obviously a former world champion, another world class wrestler, and AJ is super underrated actually in a lot of areas. He really understands TV wrestling more than the fans would ever give him credit for. Um, but that doesn't take away from the fact he fell over, and I need to make fun of it. So he is talented at what he does, and I think that having him to bounce off of on TV has, this was never meant to be like a long-term thing, but it just gained traction, and so we just kept going.
Yeah, I was just actually about to ask too a little bit about AJ Francis and TNA now, because I know
Mhm.
it's funny to like, rag on the guy, and Twitter obviously takes care of that. But the thing is,
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen like kind of a reinvention of him since his time in
Hmm.
WWE, because he's come in, he's looked great, and he's just,
Hmm.
he looks like a monster. He looks like powerful, like he kind of how he should have probably looked all his life. But I mean, obviously there was the one time that he did fall over, and I love your songs about that, and I love your roast. That's always terrific. But what is your like opinion on just seeing him now a part of the TNA roster and working with him?
I think um, the thing I love about TNA is I think why TNA really works is I think they're able to look at a talent and say, where is this person skilled, and let's lead with that. And I feel like they've done that with me very well. And if you actually look beyond that, I think they've done that with everybody on the roster. And I think that's why our television show is so good, is because Impact, it's just like a chessboard. They know which piece to utilize where. So I think TNA is an awesome place to perhaps reinvent yourself or express yourself if you've been in other companies, or but I also think I really feel like I am a homegrown TNA talent. I feel like I've never been more over than I am right now, and I feel like it's just been such an awesome opportunity to represent TNA and to be trusted with the TV time that I've been given. Like, I mean, that whole concert segment, that's, obviously there's first class reacting to it and stuff. But other than first class's reactions, it's me and a guitar, for a long period of time. And, that's a tough segment. So that's tough to pull off. But I'm really glad that management had the faith in me to do that. But I think that it got over to where it got over because of who the feud was with as well. Because the feud was with first class. Like, I think that, it takes two to tango.
Definitely. And you've been a part of Impact, you're a part of TNA now. How important is it to you to be wrestling under the TNA brand as opposed to Impact?
So, I mean, well, it's, in terms of the legacy of the brand, like I recall watching TNA in 2003. I recall being 15 years old on holiday in the pool and imagining what it would be like to win a title in TNA, just thinking about it, going, oh, well, I'd do this move and that move. And, then I actually did win a title in TNA. It's just madness. So to say I work for TNA Wrestling is pretty cool. That's a brand that people know and understand and they're aware of, and it has equity. So I think it was very exciting to go back. And honestly, I feel like ever since we've just been, I mean, I think TNA has been firing on all cylinders for years now, but I really do feel like we're on a hot streak.
Definitely. And I do just want to say thank you for your time. And I did want to just finish up with one more question for you, and that's what's next? Do you have any future goals, future opponents, future songs you might make?
So here's the thing. Um, I've This is kind of what my answer is to that is I've learned that when you let go of the big goals in favor of just trying to be as good as you can possibly be with whatever you're given next, the big goals come anyway. So I don't know what is next for me. I feel like I've earned an opportunity to step up. But we shall see. We've got this huge champions versus challengers match that's going to be coming up on TV next week, and I'm fortunate enough to be in that. So that's going to be an opportunity for me to show that I'm a main eventer and I'm someone that can draw money for this company, and that is my goal. That is it for me. I'm trying to be somebody that this company can count on and put on a poster and draw money, draw people to the building. That's what we're trying to do here.
Definitely. And one final question. Can you let the fans know who they should believe in going forward?
You're asking me to let the fans know who they should believe in
I
moving
just wanted
forward.
to let be clear.
It's late in the evening here, Scott, but I will do it for you. Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I didn't
There
even
we
hear
go.
the clap.
Oh.
There was no audio. It's not picking up.
Oh man, that's annoying.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
usually
though,
charge people on Cameo for that.
I
God.
thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you.